Hello everyone, it is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black the One Only, here with another exciting live stream. We are streaming once again from Huntsville, Alabama. It is 8 p.m. on July 16th, 2019, and today I'm going to be talking about my day-to-day. Feel free to jump into the live chat, tell me how you're doing today, if you have any questions for your boy, and if you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream. So today, I worked. I've been going through a lot of the JavaScript tutorials on w3schools.com. I have to learn a series of programming languages for my job that I've never messed with before, and so far I'm enjoying it. However, I'm more excited for when I actually will get a chance to use these languages to do something specific. I really like using programming languages to solve specific problems or try to create something. Um, I'm not as excited about just learning about it without actually using it to do anything. It's kind of like if someone told you to learn about each and every Lego brick that exists, like each of the different kinds, but they didn't tell you to build anything, like with them. So you know you are going to eventually build something with them, but for now they're like, just like read about them, and it's interesting. It's just I'm hyped for the part where I actually get to use what I've learned. That's what I want. So right now I'm getting the live chat set up on my screen. That way it'll be easier to see what you all say in the live chat. Other than work, I texted Beth, exercised, showered, the usual. And I've been writing. I'm almost done with those four superhero short stories that I've been working on. So fingers crossed that I'll be able to finish those tonight. I should be able to finish them tonight. My only thing is I might want to go back, reread, excuse me, and do some final edits. And then there's one story that I just straight up haven't written the end of yet. At the end, the main character of one of the stories, not the end of like the whole book, but at the end of one of the stories, the character gets to pick any one object from the world to just have. And I'm curious to see what object they're going to pick. Mm. It's interesting to say curious to see because I'm going to be the one who decides, but just based around what this character can do and who the character is, I'm not sure if there is any object in particular that the character would want. But I feel like it will be a character defining moment once he does pick an object to have. If you, the viewer, could have any one object in the world, what would it be and why? Because I think that would be an interesting question for you guys to answer. I personally don't know off the top of my head. If I could have any one thing, what is the one thing that I want? Hmm. Maybe a mech suit, actually. I know that sounds kind of weird, but Tsuruyobashi Heavy Industries, they make mechs that you can buy. Kels says common polite greeting in English. Yo, Kels, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about? That. Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on stream? And don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it. Nani said, I need that collab. Yo, Nani, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? And don't forget to smash that like button. Matt said, best case scenario time machine. Yo, Matt, welcome to the stream. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on stream? And don't forget to smash that like button. Kel said, does the thing have to be real? I would say a real thing, like a real thing that you can get. Matt, were you saying that you wanted a time machine if you could have any one thing in the world? Then Matt said, no, no, no. And then he said, smash that dislike button, question mark? No, 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 no. You don't have to hit me with that diss, but I will appreciate the like, though. Nani said, be cool and nice. But yeah, if you guys could have any one thing in the whole world, what would you want? Then Nani said, where the collab. So the collab is going to be this Saturday. Excuse me. Matt said, can we get to 3 dislikes? Can we get to 3 likes? I noticed we got 3 viewers. And we got goose egg likes. Can we change it from goose egg likes to 3 likes? Then Nani said, collab with who? Collab with Beth. And then Matt said, we have 0 likes. Yeah, that's what I meant by goose egg likes. We actually have 1 like now. Hey, thank you kindly. Nani said, I give a like only if the collab comes. He's like, my like is conditional. Kel said, I don't want a time machine. He said, I'd go back in time to get a Gatorade or something and destroy the entire space time continuum. Why go back in time to get a Gatorade? Gatorades just exist normally. Also, do you think Gatorade is ever going to cease to exist? It's a pretty big brand, and there's a competitor to Gatorade. Like, there's a substitute, Powerade, and I feel like as long as there's a market for sports drinks like that, that they'll just probably continue to exist. Matt said, a best case scenario time machine would allow for time travel without disruption. I'm sorry, why is Matt talking about best case scenario time machines? Nani said, lol. Matt said, so go into the future by a day or two, get the lottery numbers, and go back. I'm still lost on this time machine talk, Matt. Is that the thing that you would want if you could have anything in the world? I mean, like a real thing. Nani said, what if Nick is a Gatorade, but then everyone dies? So if I am a Gatorade, I feel like I'm doing a lot of impressive things for a Gatorade. Kel said, I would want the Ben 10 car. Now, Glitch is pretty cool, not gonna lie, because this is essentially Ben 10's go kart, except he has possessed a go kart. Glitch is pretty dope, not gonna lie. Um, if we're talking about fictional things, like if you can have anything, period, and it doesn't have to be real, I think I'd want something better than like Glitch's go kart. There are a lot of things in fiction that are just really good. I think there's a device in an old DC comic that allows anyone to have omnikinesis, which is the ability to create anything you can imagine. So I probably would go for that. I don't remember what it's called, but I would want whatever that device was. That was really awesome. One guy had it and fought Superman with it, and it was really cool. Let's see. Nani said Nick versus Alien X, like me right now versus Alien X. Um, Unless I could somehow trick the Alien X personalities into arguing again and being inactive, I don't think I could actually defeat Alien X. Um, let's see. Matt said, well, real wasn't specified. He said, I'm defending my point pre reality. Nani said, what does Glitch do? So Glitch is half human, half galvanic mechamorph, which is a fancy way of saying that he's a hybrid of a human child and a type of nanotech slime symbiote style creature. He can upgrade any piece of technology that you want, and he's sentient. Um, and he does it by Venom style wrapping himself around tech and then transforming it into an upgraded version of that tech. He's pretty much Ben's son, but also half alien. Let's see. Matt said, please stop with dumb new Ben 10. New Ben 10's pretty dope, Matt. I don't know what you're talking about. Matt said, just take the Omnitrix. I don't think I'd want an Omnitrix personally when I could have the schematics for an Omnitrix because apparently those schematics are so good that an 11-year-old child can build one out of stuff he finds in his garage. I am 22. I am twice the age of Kevin 11. I feel like if I had the schematics to the Omnitrix, I could go to a store. I could actually buy stuff instead of having to deal with random stuff in my garage and make a way better Omnitrix than whatever Kevin made. Kevin somehow made an Omnitrix that's better than what Ben has. If he can do that in a garage with a box of scraps, I can go to Home Depot and I can change the game. You don't even know. Let's see. Kel said, I don't want Glitch's go kart. He said, I want the Ben 10 car. What are you talking about? That's the Ben 10 car. Because Ben 10 has a glitch as a go-kart, and he can summon him using an app on his smartphone. And whenever Ben turns into an alien while inside of the go-kart transforms to match the alien. So if Ben turns into Heat Blast while in the car becomes made of like molten lava and it can shoot fire blasts and it takes on a sleeker like sports car design. It's really dope. But I like that the car can transform alongside with Ben. It honestly doesn't make any sense, but I really like it. It's a cool ass idea. Let's see. Matt said, become upgrade slash glitch. I think becoming upgrade isn't the same as having an upgrade creature that kind of does whatever you want. Nani said, why does Maddie B hate New Ben 10? He said, does it suck that bad? I don't think New Ben 10 is terrible. It's definitely more. I mean, it's hard to say it's more anything. It kind of takes Ben 10 back to its roots, where it's more of like a monster of the week thing, where he's traveling from place to place with his family. In each place he goes to, there's like a different villain for him to like encounter, and he like fights the villain and he beats the villain, and that's the episode. Dun 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 dun. You know what I mean? Now, what's making the new Ben 10 reboot better is that as it's continued along, it's gone from like just being that monster of the week thing I've been talking about to there are like arcs, so there are overarching stories like across seasons, and they're doing really interesting things with Ben 10 and his Omnitrix that they've either done in past shows or they've never done before. Ben's upgraded his own Omnitrix by turning into Upgrade. Ben has temporarily had access to Vilgax, which is one of Ben 10's main bad guys, as a transformation, which I thought was really cool. He got Omni Enhanced Aliens, which, for all intents and purposes, is essentially a better version of Ultimate Aliens, which I really liked. Um, Ben now has the Glitch Go Kart, which is essentially like his own Batmobile but better. Ben now instead of riding around in an RV, rides around in like the Rust Copter, and they're not just traveling across the United States over summer vacation. They're traveling to get around like the whole world. Kevin 11 doesn't absorb powers anymore, but instead he has his own Omnitrix that he built himself. They just are changing all these like little things, but it's adding up, and the show is getting crazier and crazier as it continues. And I really like these like little changes that they're adding to the new Ben 10 show. Um, I think the new Ben 10 show is on Netflix. I remember it being on Netflix at least for a little bit. I'm about to open that tab. You guys got me hype a little bit thinking about it. Matt said, but it's just bad compared to every other Ben 10 series. I don't think that's true. I like the reboot more than the original series. Um, Alien Force is okay. I didn't really like Alien Force that much. Ultimate Alien's really good. Some people go as far as to say Ultimate Alien's like the best one. I don't think that's true. Omniverse. Ooh, ooh, it's so good. Omniverse did so much right. It's such a good show. Um, the reboot, I would probably say, is my third favorite Ben 10 series. It's Omniverse, Ultimate Alien, the reboot, Alien Force, original series. Original series wasn't that good. I think it gets heavily overhyped. It was okay as a kid. I don't really want to go back and watch the original Ben 10. It just wasn't really that good. It had its place. Omniverse was better. It just the OG series is not there for me. Let's see. Matt said, and yes, Jet, original is top tier. Stop hating old shows. It's not top tier. It's not really that good. It really isn't. Kel said, Jet 22 coming soon. Then he said, I'm talking about the Ben 10 car from Ben 10 Alien Swarm. That's kind of just a nice car. That's fine if that's what you want. But I don't remember that doing anything special. It just kind of was a car. I just feel like the car that Ben has now in the reboot as a 10-year-old is just a better car. Matt said, but it doesn't capture the same feel as old Ben 10. It's steeped in the style of the modern cartoon, such as Teen Titans Go. Now, I think the only thing that I don't like as much about the Ben 10 reboot is I feel like it can be skimpy on the action sometimes. For it to be a show about Ben fighting a different villain every episode as he travels around the world, it seems like you would have more of a fight. They'll show like uh uh like it's hard to explain, but I will say that the original series handled action better. Like the actual like fight scenes are better in the other shows. The reboot, I feel like, is trying to tone down the action a little bit for younger audiences, and I would prefer if they just went full on with the fighting instead. It's the only show out of all of the series that I think has tried to dumb down the action, which I think is odd. Let's see. Nani said, "I bet Matt wears Skechers." Then Matt said, "Nike." Ooh. Kel said, "I think people should stop comparing new Benton and old Benton as a way to criticize it. The shows are trying to do different things." And that's true. I do think the two shows are trying to do different things, though I feel like you can't be surprised at people wanting to compare them. If they really wanted to separate it from the original, then they should have just not called it Ben 10. Yeah, like they're inviting comparison by being like, this is the next Ben 10 series. Also, they still have the reboot of Ben 10 on Netflix if you guys want to watch season one, but they only have season one, I think. It says season one, but I'm actually really curious to see if you click on like more episodes, does it show that it's called season one, but it really goes into season two? Nope, nope. It actually literally only has season one. Yikes. Okay. Um, no, that's too bad. I really wish they'll add season two at some point soon. I've seen season two, but I want to be able to binge watch the reboot. And right now, with only having season one, I just can't do that. I can't binge it all the way through on Netflix. Gotta stick to Kim Cartoon for now. Let's see. Matt said the comparison is still important, however, since ultimately the two shows are aiming for the same general plot structure. Mm, I feel like the reboot is very close to the OG one. It's not close to literally any of the other ones. Because I feel like all the other Benton shows took it in a very different direction. The original series is Ben, Grandpa Max, and Gwen travel to another area in the United States on their summer vacation where they run into a villain and Ben has to beat him and da 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 da. Alien Force is like Grandpa Max has been kidnapped. We got to gather the plumber's kids, aka like the Men in Black's alien hybrid children, which means we got to travel around and we got to find the different plumber's kids, but they're also trying to stop like an alien invasion, and there are like more levels to what's going on. And instead of it being we happen to go somewhere where there's a supervillain, it's we're going out of our way to find these like powerful people to help fight against a larger threat. It's a more aware show, because for Ben 10 normally it's like I just happen to be here in the OG series, where an alien force is like they're trying to fight a force. They have a very defined mission. They're trying to save Grandpa Max, and they know how they're going to try and succeed in that mission. They essentially have to build an army, and then they have to use that army to try and like fight the invasion. Like the structure is very different for what they're trying to do. And then Ultimate Alien is like Agrigor's coming. He's gonna absorb all these really powerful aliens, and if we don't stop him, he's going to become too powerful for anyone to stop, and we're just all gonna die. So that is about them trying to keep Agrigor away from these powerful aliens, and it's also about Ben unlocking these new powers, but it's also about Ben now being known publicly as a superhero and him having to deal with being a hero in the public eye and stuff like that. Ultimate Alien's really good. Even though the Ultimatrix is really stupid, I actually really hate it. And then Omniverse is it just does everything. It's I love Omniverse a lot, and I'm very biased because I always praise Omniverse, but it does everything that you would really want after having seen all those other shows. If you ever were like, what if this would happen? Or what if Omniverse just does it, and it does it in a very satisfactory way. Ben regresses as a character at the beginning of the show, only for them to give you hella von heckadoodle character development across the series as Ben rematures, but you also get to see scenes of when Ben was younger, when he was like 11, like the stories that were never told from the original series, and they tie in stuff from his past into things with his present so that you can see how he's grown throughout the whole scope of his life, essentially. I kind of wish Omniverse had also done the adventures of like Alien Force and Ultimate Alien that you never saw, because I also would have really loved that. They never had to reboot Ben 10. I think that's the one thing I don't like. I feel like Omniverse was already a show that was like it's about 11-year-old Ben, and it's also about like present day Ben. So if they're like we just want to tell Ben 10 stories about when he was a kid and stick to that, they could have still done it with Omniverse. They could have just focused on 11-year-old Ben and been like, that's going to be what the show is like, and just kept going forward from there. And they could have introduced any new characters they wanted or any like new mechanics and stuff like that. And then current day Ben could face like the future version of them, and you could see the interconnections between the two. Um, the reboot is not like a horrible show, but it really does fuck with me that they didn't just keep Omniverse going since it already focused on a younger Ben sometimes anyways. It's really weird. Where are we at? Kel said Omniverse made me nut, just like Ugly Betty. What is that reference? Nani said, I see. And he said, so what Ben 10 is worth it to watch? Omniverse. Omniverse is the best one. Kel said all of them, Nani. Then Matt said Original and Alien Force. Oh no, what are you doing? Those are like a couple of the worst ones. Alien Force, the writers were like trying to get a feel for like what to do with an older Ben. And even in Ultimate Alien, they comment on that because in Ultimate Alien, Ben's like, yeah, there's like a new sumo slammer show that's out, and then Kevin's like another one, and then Ben says something along the lines of, yeah, the writers are trying to get it closer to like the magic of the original, and they're doing new things, and I feel like that's true. I feel like the writers were being self-aware in that scene, and that the new Sumo Slammer show was an analogy for Benton Ultimate Alien and how they're trying to like find where the show should be going. So I'm just saying, uh, Alien Force isn't that hotness. Matt then said Alien Force versus Ultimate. Ultimate is the best. It's so good. Well, Ultimate isn't the best. Omniverse is the best, but it's definitely better than what you previously suggested, in my opinion. Kel said, just kidding, Nani. He said, I recommend OG Alien Force and Reboot. But if you want to watch Omniverse, you need to watch everything. And if you want to watch Ultimate Alien, you need to watch Alien Force. That's not true. That's not true. If you want to watch Omniverse, Nani, you can jump on episode 1 of Omniverse. I feel like the first episode sets it up very well, especially since the theme song kind of tells you what the show is about. It's not like you don't really need that much context. Um, the first episode starts off. You see Ben, you know he's a superhero, you know he has the Omnitrix and he can turn into aliens. You see his friends leave, you see him start to regress as a character and become more mature, and then you see him get his new partner, and you see him learn about like this secret alien society that lives under his town. And that's all you really need to know. All those things will be built up upon over the course of the show, and they'll even have flashback episodes that tell you more about 11-year-old Ben and how he got introduced to a whole bunch of this stuff. It's worth it to you can just skip to Omniverse. I'm telling you, you are not really missing shit. You got this. Let's see. Matt said Omniverse has racism, so Matt's talking about how in Benton Omniverse there's a whole arc called Benton Galactic Monsters. He goes to an alien planet where everybody is a monster essentially, and Ben is upset because all the monsters think he looks ugly, and he's like, "No, you look ugly because you're monsters." And then Rook's like, "Well, it's just like a cultural shift thing. Like, depending on the culture will determine stuff like societal norms." And Ben's like, "No, fuck you. I'm not ugly." Ben's just being butthurt. He's not being racist. Matt said no to reboot and Omniverse. He said yes to everything else. Matt, why do you hate Omniverse? Omniverse is really good. Kel said, Matt, what's wrong with Omniverse? And then Matt said, racism. Then Kel said, do you not want a nut? Matt said, also, Omniverse seems like a regression of Ben's character. Yes, it is. So Ultimate Alien has a really satisfying ending because you get to see Ben grow as a character and he makes a really adult ass decision that I feel like a lot of like real life adults would have messed up on and would have screwed up the universe. But Ben has to make like a really big choice at the end of Ultimate Alien. And he makes that choice, and it's somewhat symbolic of Ben showing that he's no longer like an immature kid and that he understands right and wrong, and that not only does he understand right and wrong, but he does to such a high moral caliber that he knows not to mess up the entire universe. Like he can make like proper adult decisions. And for Omniverse to have further character development for Ben, they regress him, but they give you a story reason for why he's regressing. It's because of the fact that like his close friends and family have more or less separated themselves from him, not as like a shunning thing, but just they're going in different directions in their lives, and Ben feels alone, but he also feels like he has to prove himself. He's like, I've been fighting for years alongside like my cousin and my best friend Kevin, and now that they're not here, I feel like there's this void, and he's trying to fill it by trying to become like the best solo hero he can be. But then he's forced into a situation where he has to work with someone who he doesn't even know. And it's a good ass story. uh, they didn't just regress Ben's character and then not do anything with it. They regress him to then further build him back up and to make him into a really good ass Ben again. A better Ben than the Ultimate Alien Ben. I'd argue that. It's really good. Matt said, I don't need a what if series cartoon. But it's not even like a what if really. Like, Benton Omniverse, whenever it would fill in the blank for like older stuff, that was canon. It essentially, it's not going, what if Ben had additional adventures as 11? They're like, here's what he did when he was 11 that we just never showed you. The Omniverse fills in the blank that happens between the original series and Alien Force, while also filling in the blank of what happens after Ultimate Alien. So it's essentially two series that run at two different points in the timeline that then have direct connections to each other, because a lot of the stuff that happened when Ben was 11 resurfaces when Ben is older, and he has to face the consequences of previous actions that he had taken when he was a kid. And it's dope as fuck. Let's see. Nani said, lol, how is it racist? Then Kayla said, I haven't seen Omniverse in years, so I can't talk about Ben's character in it. I can. Ryan said, Omniverse has a blue dude. Blue! And then he said, old Ben is bold Ben. Also, Ryan, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on this stream? Welcome. Don't forget to smash that like button, by the way. Truly appreciate it. Matt said, don't listen to Jet's advice. He regularly skips content and it's bad. You don't really have to see as much as you think to understand stories. Ryan said, theme song intros, lol. Matt said, he started a show in season 5 and went backwards. Don't listen to him. Hey, I mean, it worked out for me. What was the season 5 show that I watched and went backwards on? Matt said, you mean a non reason for regression? I don't think it's a non reason. Ben didn't know how to handle that. He's never been in a situation like that before. Like throughout the whole series, where he suddenly like left alone due to like a life reason. Like not because like, oh, there's a villain and he separated us or something like that. Like no, like he just has to work on his own after having worked with a team for so long that he's very closely bonded with. You know, that kind of messes with you, Matt. I'm just saying. I understand the reason for the regression. I feel like it makes sense within the story. Matt said, you mean perhaps the worst reason for regression given what he has been through? I don't think that's true. I don't think. I don't know. Like, I feel like you're making, like, statements, but you're not really defending them. You know what I mean? Like, how is it, like, the worst reason for regression? And then Matt said, you mean there is a literal Lego alien that makes no sense in the context of biology? So, Blocks is like a literal Lego alien. But I'm surprised that Blocks is the one that you're like, this makes no sense in terms of biology. Because Ben has had plenty of weird ass aliens that don't make a lot of sense at all. Um, I would think off the top of my head, Goop is like, excuse me, one of the weirdest aliens Ben has ever had. I don't even think the goo part is like alive. I think it's just the UFO. So I think Goop is more technology than anything else. He's very weird. Nanomech, I think, is supposed to be half human, which has its own complications to what that alien is, and whether or not Ben is fully transforming into nanomech or partially transforming into nanomech. It's it's a very weird idea because Ben normally is his DNA is shifting into the DNA of the alien he's turning into. But when he turns into a half human alien, is he becoming half himself, half the alien? Is he becoming half a different person and half the aliens? You know what I mean? It's a weird concept. Matt said a Winx Club. So I didn't start Winx Club at season 5 and then go backwards. I watched seasons 1 through, not sure if I finished 3 with Jared, and then I jumped to season 5 to see what they were doing. And I was like, whoa, time travel, the fuck? Winx Club is very interesting for any of those who are interested in checking it out. Uh, cool show. Wish Huntic was still a thing. Huntic was made by the same guy who made Winx Club. It was like his dude cartoon, like the cartoon that was more like a boy show. I used to watch that in like middle school, but Winx Club is what caught on. Huntic did not. But I think Huntic's on Netflix for any of those who are interested in checking it out. Kel said, Jet, do you not remember when I talked about Ugly Betty? And I said it made me nut in a safe for work way. Is Ugly Betty the movie about the girl who has sex with the tree? Is that the one we're talking about? Matt said, wasn't the gap between original and Alien Force just that? You mean a gap? No, because Omniverse explains that Ben also did stuff when he was 11, which means that the gap between original series and Alien Force is not a full 5 years. It's like a partial, like 4 something years. Let's see. Ryan said, I once started a show in season 11. Was it Doctor Who? Then Kel said, Matt thinks Jet's a crackhead. because of the way he watches cartoons and anime. Matt then said he is the, which is an interesting way to respond to that. Then Ryan said, watched season 11 through 17. Wait. Was it Doctor Who, or was it like Star Trek? Or was it. I feel like it's one of those two. Kel said, I think he's a crackhead because he likes pineapple on pizza. It's good. Matt said, and his taste in shows is also pretty bad. Well, that's subjective. Um, Ryan said, now I'm watching seasons 4 through 10. Is it Star Trek? Mm. Kel said, I think the reason for Ben's regression makes sense. And he said, it's not Lego. It's one of those rip-off brands, so it works. Then Matt said, for something years is still a lot for Ben to be left alone. Ben isn't working with a core team in the original series in the same way as he is in Alien Force and then into Ultimate Alien. Alien Force is all about Ben learning how to work in a like proper team where he's not the only person who like has powers. That's like the main thing in Alien Force because he's building a team and he's meeting more super powered people and he's learning how to kind of be a leader. You know, that's the whole idea. And then in Ultimate Alien, you now take that framework, you take the Ben that had developed over the course of Alien Force, and you push him into a world where everyone knows his identity and his family is put at risk by the fact that he's like a public figure, and his relationship with everyone else changes. Now, being known as a public figure, it changes the way that he interacts with everyone and even how he sees himself. And he kind of gets cocky, and a big part of Ultimate Alien is him growing out of that and seeing challenges greater than himself and greater than what him and his friends have faced in the past. It ups the ante really hard. It goes from like Alien Force, which was like stop an alien invasion, to Ultimate Alien, which is like stop a cosmic horror. Which now that I say it out loud, damn, that actually is a really big jump. It becomes, uh, like they're both alien threats, but cosmic horror I think is one of the bigger alien threats you could probably come up with. But then Omniverse is like there's a button that destroys the whole universe, and it's so fucking crazy. There's a time war. There's a multiverse battle between like the different bins. Omniverse was like, you thought cosmic horror was the best we could do? Who do you think we are? Ben has to survive the Big Bang. Woo. Ryan said, yeah, it is Star Trek. Matt said he still has heavy bonds with Gwen, and he incorrectly says Uncle Max. He then corrects himself. Him having big bonds with Gwen and Grandpa Max. You say that as if it's like, man, he's heavily separated from his cousin and his grandpa, even though his cousin lives in like the same town as him and he could probably visit his grandpa whenever. In Alien Force, he does visit. It shows that he regularly visits his grandfather's RV. It's just that's just not a real thing, like what you're saying. You're like, oh man, been separated for 4 years. The only thing Ben separated from for 4 years is his Omnitrix. His family is still all there. Like what you're saying doesn't make any sense. They didn't leave him. They just came home from summer vacation. Yeah, I just feel like those are very different situations. I think Gwen and Kevin at the beginning of Omniverse like moved to like another state or whatever. Ryan said, "What prompted you to talk about Ben 10?" Oh, thank you, Ryan. That's actually a really good question. I was talking about how I'm almost done with my book, Superpower Battles Volume 3. I'm very close to finishing up those 4 superhero short stories that I'd written up. So I should be publishing that relatively soon. Maybe not like today, um, but hopefully like tomorrow. I should be like ready to publish Superpower Battles Volume 3. But my character in Superpower Ball that my character in Superpower Battles Volume 3, in one of the short stories, he's able to get any object in the world as a prize. Like, the leaders of some of the world's largest nations gather together and they're like, for saving the entire planet, we're gonna let you have like one thing, just any one thing. What do you want? And I was like, I don't really know what my main character, like, actually would want if he could have anything in the entire world. So then I asked you guys in the live chat, hey, if you guys could have any one thing in the world, what would you want? And then Matt said a time machine. Uh, Matt said a time machine. Kel said Ben 10's car. Then we started talking about Ben 10 from Kel's having said Ben 10's car. Matt said, here we are on Volume 3. Volume 1 just happened. So Matt says, I feel like Matt isn't really paying attention to the amount of time that has gone in between Volume 1 and Volume 3. But Volume 1 was published in the 1st of July. Technically, it was published on June 29th, 2019. So, like, the end of June, Volume 1 came out. And then Volume 2 was published a week later. So, it wasn't published until July 18th. And now Volume 3 will probably be out today or tomorrow. Not necessarily out, but submitted for publishing. So, it'll be over a week from that one. Seems like about a week. It seems like there's a week between each one, which isn't too bad. An example of something else that's written like a week at a time would be like a manga chapter in like Shonen Jump or something like that. So I don't think it's that crazy. It's just multiple short stories collected. Let's see. Um, Matt said, please stop. He said if he was a true hero, he would decline the offer. And he said, that's 2 weeks, Jack. Please don't pretend like that was forever. Well, it just seems like a regular publishing period, Matt. It just sounds consistent. It just sounds like within like about a week or so time, I'm able to release a volume, which is no different from releasing like a chapter of a manga every week, except a lot easier because I'm not an artist. It would be much harder if I had to actually draw it. So it's not comparable because I'd say it's a lot harder to make a chapter of a manga a week than it is to write one of my books in a week. That being said, I'm having a lot of fun writing them. I'm really enjoying these stories. I feel like I am really getting into that Silver Age style of writing, and that I'm doing a pretty good job of representing that style, and that the focus of the story isn't as much on characterization as it is on can the hero cleverly use their abilities in order to overcome a villain who also has special powers that can counter the hero, but it's still not devoid of characterization. I actually, in my stories as of recent, have been focusing pretty hard on the villain's motivations and letting you know why the villain is doing what they're doing. And it doesn't focus as much on the hero's motivations, mainly because the hero has very basic motivations. I always try and make whatever the villain wants in a direct opposition, and it's weird to say in a direct opposition, indirect opposition to just something that the hero would desire. So, like, if the villain is trying to, let's say, wipe out all life on Earth, well, our hero is included on all life on Earth. So the motivation is very simple. You know, he doesn't want to die. So I'm not necessarily writing a hero who's like, with great power comes great responsibility type of character. They have their place, but I honestly prefer when heroes are forced into situations where they kind of don't really have a choice, because I feel like that just makes sense. I feel like just because someone has superpowers doesn't necessarily mean that they'll like, oh man, I gotta fight villains. Oh, I gotta. If anything, I feel like someone with superpowers probably wouldn't be, oh, I gotta fight villains. They just want to do whatever it is that they want to do. But I feel like they would fight a villain if that villain got in their way, excuse me, or threatened something they care about. And that's what I normally try to do with my stories. I just feel like it makes more sense to do it like that. Oh, and then the other side of the spectrum from that. So a lot of heroes are either like, with great power comes great responsibility. I have to use my power to help people. Blah 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 blah. And then you have like the shonen setup where it's like, I like to fight strong people, and it really doesn't matter if you're a good guy or a bad guy. You seem strong, so I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna go out of my way to put myself in danger to challenge you. I also think that's kind of weird. I kind of prefer, there's a villain, and the villain has this like deeper motivation for what they're trying to do, but what they're trying to do is going to be something that threatens the hero or something the hero cares about, so the hero has to jump to the occasion to face off against the villain, or they'll lose something that is important to them. And that is all the motivation I think they really need. um, and I feel like it makes sense because the hero doesn't really have a choice if they truly care about whatever it is they're focusing on. You know what I mean? Matt said, "You spend 45 minutes on each short story. This is why there is no quality." So I feel like Matt uh, is assuming a lot, I guess, which is kind of weird. I don't really know why you feel like I'm only spending 45 minutes on each story. But that's you. Matt said they also put more thought into their chapters by comparison. Well, I'm not saying I'm on the level of like a mangaka, like a manga author. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the release schedule is of a very similar time. Just, it only takes like a week. Also, South Park episodes are of a similar time, one a week kind of thing. Let's see. Um, Matt said hard counters is perhaps the worst aspect of old comic books, and that is what you're idolizing, and that just leads to a horrible foundation. So it's interesting that you say that hard counters are a foundation for old comic books. I disagree. I feel like counter based characters are the foundation that DC builds their house on. Like, DC Comics to this day still is like, our focus is on having our heroes who can do all these crazy things face off against challenges where their powers aren't immediately or obviously useful, and which then they have to find clever ways to use their abilities in order to overcome these challenges. And I feel like you can easily prove this by just looking at the rogues galleries for these heroes who have continued to expand with this theme in mind, but also the key figures of these rogue galleries who still exist today. They exist to be like counters or foils for our heroes. And that is like a big part of like DC in particular. Not saying that Marvel doesn't do it, but that's a huge thing with DC Comics throughout their history. I'd say especially Silver Age forward. I can't personally speak for Golden Age comics. I have not personally dived into the Golden Age. Dozer said, "What about like a Booster Gold type hero, where he only does good things to get recognition and rewards?" Yo, Dozer, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on this stream? So Booster Gold is just out there for the fame. Hey, and you're right, you're right. There are other heroic motivations. I do think Booster Gold's motivation is an interesting one, for sure. But I also feel like sometimes Booster Gold, due to his personality, like that's what his like flaw seems to be. Because I think Booster Gold has solid powers. Well, not powers necessarily, but like gadgetry. I feel like he's actually very capable. But I think his personality gets in the way, and that's his biggest flaw. Like, I feel like he has enough tools to handle pretty much any problem he could encounter, but I just think he's too like, I'm famous, or want to be famous, and it gets in the way. He kind of has I can't even say he has like an overconfidence problem. It's more just he's so self-absorbed into his mission of fame that it gets in the way of him becoming a true hero. And I imagine over the course of his comics, there's a good bit of characterization that shows him build and start to become more of a real hero, which is cool. I've actually never read a Booster Gold comic. My interpretation of Booster Gold that I'm currently sharing is based off of at least how he's shown in cartoons. I notice in cartoons they do that a lot. So I might be wrong. Maybe in the comics themselves, Booster Gold isn't as self absorbed and he isn't as distracted by things like that. Though I did read some of the New 52 run of Justice League International, and I believe he's on that team. I think he's actually like the organizer of that team, and in that he still was kind of on his fame high horse. So I imagine it's something that's also in the comics. I just haven't read an extensive amount of Booster Gold to say too much about it. Let's see. So where are we at? Where are we at? Matt said, but Jet, to put yourself on a 1 week schedule without the quality to match, that only leads to bad writing. Well, I personally don't think my stories are of a bad quality. I feel like I'm doing a good job so far of fitting with that like Silver Age comic book feel, especially like DC Silver Age comic books. I feel like I've been paying a lot of attention to how they set up those old Silver Age stories, and I'm focusing on the parts of those stories that I like the most, and putting them into like a shorter structure, written out, no pictures, still with that style, more like a old superhero radio show of those times. And I'm really enjoying what I've been writing so far, coming up with like original characters and powers, and of course inspired characters. Because definitely for Volume 1, it was like mainly characters inspired by other things. But the last story in Volume 1, where I made up characters with powers that I like came up with, I was like, oh, I kind of like doing the original character thing better, and I've been running with that so far and so forth. Volume 3, I can tell you right now, has no inspired by characters. They're all characters that I've made up, and I've been really enjoying fleshing them out and working on everything. Let's see. Matt said foils are different from hard counters, and I agree. There is definitely a difference. Um, they're they're on the edge between less relevant villains and hard counters. Foils, I think, are like right here. They're like the border. Dozer said, "Well, at least you're being respectful, Matt." And then Matt said, "No, Jet is a horrible individual who doesn't know anything about writing." Then Kel said, "I think Jet's doing a good job. Granted, I haven't read any of his work yet, but I trust he's working hard. I disagree with some of his creative decisions, but still." Matt said, "I have read some of it, and I wish to die with some of the choices." Matt said, "Power Down is a hard example of wanting to die." Well, you actually haven't read the Power Down story, which I actually just finished writing today. The Power Down story. I am going to read back over the stories that I've been putting the finishing touches on today, and try and look through them and see if there's anything that I want to change or anything like that. But I'm almost done with the ending of the first story of Volume 3. What I did is I worked on each story of Volume 3, jumping between stories, filling in a piece at a time. So I would like write the first part of the first story, then the first part of the second, and then the first of the third, and the first of the fourth, and then write the second of the fourth, and then the second of the third, and going like back up and then back down and back up and back down. So now I'm writing the end of the first story, which will get me to having finished the stories of the book. And then I'm going to go back through, add any changes that I want and read through, and then publish. Let's see. So where are we at? Kel said, "Jet, what's the power system in your comic book thingy?" He said, "Or is it like Marvel and DC where you can get power from whatever?" So a lot of what I've been doing with the superhero short stories is adding a layer of vague intrigue by simply omitting certain things. So character appearances are not described so that the viewer has the ability to imagine how characters look themselves. I also do not put in an origin for like where powers come from. I let your imagination run with that. If you feel like the main character should have gotten their powers from X, Y, or Z reason, then you have the ability to speculate on that and to come up with your own ideas. And maybe you might find hints throughout different stories that indicate different ways for powers to generate. But I really like giving the viewer the ability to speculate and imagine what they want to imagine, um, because I like the idea of being able to show the same story to two different people and then ask them like, so how do you think that character looks? And then they like draw like completely different representations of those characters, because it's something that you can get from like a radio show kind of thing, like someone just going, and then Batman does this and that. And then imagine if like you never have read a Batman comic or you've never seen Batman, you just listen to the radio show, you fill in the dots for how Batman looks in your mind, without any other outside influence. I really like that. So that's why I leave out a lot of details like that so that you're able to just do whatever you want with it. My friend KJ is actually going to be at Hamicon, and KJ and I, back in high school, were going to work on a comic book together. And it was really interesting to see what KJ would do with different characters that I would come up with and how he would draw them out based off of the details that he knew about them. I'm very curious to see what KJ could do with some of these superhero short stories where I just don't describe what the characters look like at all. I actually would really like to see how he brings them to life on the page. Let's see. Matt said, people just have whatever powers. And then Matt said, and he rips off powers from other entities. Like I said, I had a lot of inspired characters in Volume 1. In Volume 1, I was going for that Silver Age comic book style, but at the same time, I was like, there are so many existing fictional characters who I know will probably never fight because they exist at different canons. And I was like, I want to create original characters, but their abilities are inspired by these other characters, so I have the opportunity to see them fight in one-on-one matches. So Volume 1 was more dedicated to a lot of those inspired characters, but Volume 2 on to now Volume 3, I focused more on going, what do I think is like a unique or like crazy power? Or what is a power I really like, and what are powers do I feel like are counter to that power, and then how would the fights go between individuals with these abilities? I think those are things that I've been really vibing with recently with volumes 2 and 3 so far. Dozer said Nick's stories are silly as far as I've seen. He said silly can be good. He said also Booster Gold has been shown to dislike himself for not really being a good guy. He visits Sanctuary to therapy type help. Oh, yeah, that's from Heroes in Crisis. I actually have not read Heroes in Crisis. I've heard it's been very divisive in the community. People either really vibe with it or they hate it. I know the twist to Heroes in Crisis, and I also feel like, ooh, I don't know why they did that. It's kind of weird. What are your thoughts on Heroes in Crisis? I will have to end the stream soon, but if I'm able to get to your comment, I think that'd be pretty cool. Matt said, such as Danny Phantom and Jake Long. He said, you can have a silly story and still make it good. He said, Jet does not. Um, Dozer, do you feel like the story that you read was good? Or stories? I think you might have read two of my stories. Do you feel like they were good and silly? Because Silver Age stories are definitely silly. Or do you feel like they were like or like eh? Let's see. Beth said, I vibe with Dozer saying silly is good. Well, Dozer didn't necessarily say that silly is good, but he said that silly can be good. Matt said vagueness equals lazy. He said your short stories only have 3 paragraphs each. Is it so hard to put authorial vision into the work? I don't feel like they're 3 paragraphs each, um, especially since I have my stories like pulled up. I can actually just see that they are quite a bit more. So that one is almost done, but not quite. I have to add a little bit more to that. Let's see. Beth said, which of your other friends will be at Hamicon? Serena, Kaylee, I believe Leo, KJ, KJ's fiance, KJ's friend Andre, and I'm sure plenty of other people will also be at Hamicon. By the way, Dad is over to the right. Kels has been waiting for a dad reveal.
When is Hamicon?
Hamicon's this Saturday. Is Kels gonna get that dad reveal?
Is it just one day?
Well, it's like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm only going to Saturday. It's like the best day.
Dad review of what?
Dad reveal.
Reveal?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dad's checking his phone. He's trying to see if it's reveal time. Let's see. Kel said, I feel you should give at least a small hint where powers come from. Because then people could think powers just happen randomly. And maybe they do. You can legitimately, because it's like left unclear, it lets you be able to play with it a lot. You in your mind can speculate on it. And there are hints, if you guys read through the different short stories, on potential sources for powers. But you'll have to read the stories in order to actually see those hints. But I do keep it vague. I never straight out say where powers come from.
Do you think they want to see a picture?
Dad reveal. A reveal of Dad. So this is a old prom picture from back in the day. Of me, not of Dad. Let's see. Beth said, Kels, I agree now that I think about that. About like the hint of where powers come from. I like the vagueness. I actually really dig it. Let's see. Matt said, how many words? So he wants a word count on one of the stories. I can do that. Then Beth said, Dad reveal. Kel said, I want that dad reveal. Dad, how are they going to know? How are they going to know you're really here? I could be a ventriloquist.
With 3 hands?
I mean, my hands are down most of the time. If you look at the screen view, they don't know where my hands are. Let's see. So I will grab the word count on one of the stories from volume 3. This is a finished story, but like I said, I'm gonna read back through it and make some edits to it. Okay, so here we go. And then I'm going to paste it into a word counter. Let's see, Matt said, that isn't good writing. He said, vagueness for the sake of vagueness is not useful for telling a compelling story. So I don't feel like it's vagueness for the sake of vagueness. I feel like it's vagueness for allowing the viewer to be able to let their imagination run wild. By the way, for this one particular story that I pasted in that's from volume 3, it's 1,159 words. And like I said, we're going for like short stories. So we're not going for like, oh man, you know what I mean? They're not supposed to be super long. And the short story collections have multiple stories in them. So this is just one of the stories. Let's see. Beth said, why you Rick-roll us like that? And then Kel said, alt prom photo of Jet reveal. Beth said, baby pic. And put like smiley face heart eyes emojis. Matt said, about 5 to 6 paragraphs. He said, that isn't much better. Actually, Matt, I can put on the screen like the details that the word counter used, because I don't think there are 20 paragraphs. I think it's confused because of the fact that there's script-based dialogue in it. So script-based dialogue is very different. Let's see. Kel said, oh my god. I don't know what you showed him. Matt said, and you killed the stream. How so? I actually don't know what he's referring to when he said the stream. It says stream status is good. Let's see, Matt said, but their paragraphs are based upon how you broke up the story. Well, that's what I'm saying. Because I don't think it's necessarily true that there are 20 paragraphs because of the fact that there's like dialogue. So it breaks it into like script structure. There's still a good amount of stuff in here. Uh, Kel said, I can handle all these reveals. But I feel like the stories are good, and I feel like they should be judged upon like an individual merit. Of course, I'm gonna be biased. I mean, I wrote them, and I wrote them to my own taste, so I can't say like they're objectively good. But no one can really say that anything is objectively good or bad, because taste for these kind of things are subjective. Let's see, Matt said, and not entirely based upon general length. He said average paragraph is 100 to 200 words. Paragraphs are like 5 sentences the way that I do them. They don't have to be 100 to 200 words per paragraph. Beth is like, FYI, it is 6 minutes past 9. Beth's like, you gotta go. You gotta go. Matt said, you can still be self critical. And I am. I'm enjoying them though. Cal said, these reveals, there are so many. But yeah, Beth is getting antsy. So I'm going to put a pause on the stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you guys like this video, make sure to smash that like button. Favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding, 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 ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we do these live streams. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, logging out. Peace, guys.